one of 55 organizations that are funded by the Commonwealth to look after regional development across our very specific areas. So we look after Perth, and we undertake a number of reports. We work with stakeholders. We look to facilitate outcomes to drive new business investment and job growth into the future. Our flagship report is called Driving Change, and that's an economic development strategy and infrastructure priorities plan for Perth and Peel. And in that, we worked across local government, state government, and identified 7 key projects that would, as I said previously, drive new business investment and job growth into the future. As part of that, one of the sections that we looked at was something called Common User Facilities. And we commissioned a separate report with that to look at what are those areas that we would look to support. And one of them was defense. So from that, we actually recently undertook commissioning a report called Security and Defense in Western Australia, an Economic Perspective, and that has identified 25 key recommendations in regards to driving economic development through defense in WA. It's important because there's a number of issues. First up, defense is a growing sector in Australia. With the 2016 Defense White Paper, there were a number of things that were identified in there. And for RDA Perth, what we wanted to understand, well, where does that position Western Australia? What do we need to do? How do we bring the region, how do we bring the state together to look at taking hold of those opportunities. What we found in the report was that there's quite a bit already going on in Western Australia, and we feel that this is the most comprehensive report that's been undertaken in defense in WA. We also found that the Northwest Shelf, with all the billions of dollars of infrastructure and activity up there, there was a sense or lack of sense of security, so some of the recommendations do look at addressing some of that. Plus, while we're quite aware of the Western Trade Coast and Henderson and the AMC, we wanted to also understand, were there any other opportunities other than going for contracts with the Commonwealth to build ships? Were there anything else that we might be able to look at? In regards to the issue in the Northwest Shelf, one of the recommendations, in fact it's the first recommendation, is a Indian Ocean Patrol boat program. So we did look at bases and where things might get placed, but we thought we'd just leave that argument to the side and say that we need actually something to happen in the Indian Ocean area to basically set Western Australia up with a greater sense of security up in that particular space. And so I think it's time for Western Australia to actually put its foot forward and do a little bit more posturing. That's another exciting element, is the recommendation to bring the 7th Brigade out of Brisbane over into Western Australia. And I believe we identified somewhere around Swan, or the city of Swan, and that would bring in quite a bit of investment, because as the people move into the area, they bring their families, and there's a lot of direct, indirect, and inferred economic development that goes with that would be very beneficial to WA. We did look at Indigenous employment and found that there's some huge opportunities in not only the northern part of Australia, but looking at linking the north with the south, and actually creating some training opportunities for Indigenous people in Western Australia. And we have had quite a bit of interest by Department of Defense in this space, and the possibility of actually bringing over some elements and creating those training opportunities in Western Australia. It's going to be a fantastic read. People are going to realize what we do have here in Western Australia and the opportunities that exist. So while I mentioned about the Army and I've mentioned about the patrol boat program, there's also innovation and other opportunities that exist. So there's a lot of linkages between the resources sector, defense, opportunities around robotics, cybersecurity, drones, that we can actually leverage our business that are already looking at that space and develop into new products and new interest from other parts of, or globally actually. We've got some really fantastic businesses here.